When Harry Met Sally, one of the preeminent rom-coms that ushered in a revival of the genre in the 90s. The Sweetest Thing, a goofy sex romp that was very thin on story, but heavy on wacky set pieces that helped you forget how little there was to this movie. It's true, these two films have almost nothing in common. They just happen to be the two movies I watched back to back that demonstrate the difference between love and romance. Two concepts that are so tied together that they are almost inseparable. Except for the fact that they aren't. Also, these two movies are over 20 years old, so I feel okay spoiling the shit out of these movies because you've had more than enough time to watch both of them. Love and romance are two very different concepts that cloud how we've been trained to think about relationships. Knowing the difference between the two concepts allow us to have deeper relationships, make better decisions, and have some self-preservation in our relationships.
I would do anything for love.
But you won't do that if you know how love and romance are different. To simplify, love is the day-to-day maintenance. It's the conversations, it's building your relationship with someone and knowing them, learning how they think and listening to how your actions affect them. Love is about the feelings of both of the two people in love. And romance. Romance is the opposite of that. Romance is the buildup of how the object of your desire will make you feel. It's about the butterflies, the anticipation of seeing the object of your desire. Romance is about the emotions of one person. You. I did an episode of the podcast about Gloria Steinem, who wrote an amazing essay about the difference between love and romance. I summarized the essay in the episode, and I'll leave a link and the time code of where I talk about love and romance. So let's explore these two concepts through these two movies. Now, romance isn't any better than love, and vice versa. What's bad for you is when you mistake romance for love. Love at first sight isn't real. Feeling lust or romance at first sight, that could happen. In real-life romances, like a crush or some guy who locked eyes with you on the subway, you run into problems when you expect another person to act like your fantasy version of who they are based on what they look like or your first impression of them. But most movies end right after the happily ever after, the moment when the conflict is resolved and the couple can now be together. As the audience, we don't see any of the fallout or confusion when the characters find out that their person isn't exactly who they thought they were in their head. Love. When Harry Met Sally. Yeah, maybe not what you were expecting. Maybe you thought, because the movie is a romantic comedy, that this movie would represent romance. But think again. When Harry Met Sally depicts love and how a loving relationship develops. There's actually very little romance involving the two titular characters. When Harry and Sally meet, they initially hate each other, which is very much how many rom-coms function. Except in most movies or TV shows, there would be some kind of manufactured situation that would force the two of them together, even though they hate each other. In When Harry Met Sally, they meet several times over the course of about 10 years. Both of them have grown and changed and more organically start a friendship. The main question the movie asks is, can men and women be friends? Which the movie answers no. And yes, because even though, spoiler alert, Harry and Sally get together in the end, they do become friends first. They spend lots of time hanging out together, getting to know each other. They know all the worst things about the other person. They learn to love each other. The only thing these two are confused about is whether or not their love is platonic or not. When they do get together, it's earned. Romance. The sweetest thing. In contrast to When Harry Met Sally is The Sweetest Thing. Cameron Diaz plays a heartbreaker named Christina. She tells us that her thing is to run away when relationships get serious. Besides a montage at the beginning of all the men she's devastated, we don't really get to see her doing this behavior because the movie is very thinly written. She meets a cute guy, Peter, at a bar, the most well-lit club that I've ever seen in my life. They flirt contentiously, and then she has a fantasy about him involving oral sex, ice cream, and a voyeuristic bellboy. Her friend, played by Christina Applegate, convinces the character Christina to crash the wedding the cute guy said he would be at. Because of a wacky misunderstanding, it turns out that Peter isn't just in the wedding, it is his wedding. But Peter and his bride decide that neither of them wants to get married, so Peter, still thinking about Christina, tracks her down, shows up at her house, and asks her out. Christina runs away, but quickly chases after him, and we skip forward to months later when the two of them are happily married. total romance. They both project their feelings onto someone they meet briefly. They spend maybe 15 minutes of the movie, which would translate to 15 minutes in real time as well, to actually talking to each other. We don't see any part of their relationship actually develop. They don't know they even like each other. They like the idea of each other. Crashing someone's wedding or showing up at their house unannounced, those are fucking crazy things to do, not charming like the movies would have you believe. If any of that actually happened to you in real life, you would get the authorities involved. There is no development of their relationship at all. But eventually developing feelings for your friend as you get to know them better, like in When Harry Met Sally, is much less creepy than stalking a total stranger, no matter how amusing your journey is to get there. Even more proof of love is that during the friendship, Harry and Sally start to date other people, and they are more or less supportive of each other's relationships. In a more traditional rom-com, one where the characters aren't actually learning about who the other person is, but instead fancying each other from afar, one character would try to undermine the other character's relationship. Romance doesn't take into account what the other person wants. It's all about what you want and showing what you are willing to do to get the other person. Romance is appealing because it doesn't involve any real work. It's a fantasy that you create. In your head, you can create a world where everyone oohs and ahs over how much you love the object of your desire. Romance rarely involves just asking the other person how they feel. In a traditional rom-com, something that's more like The Sweetest Thing, you cheer when the two protagonists get together. I didn't cheer at the end of The Sweetest Thing. I, in fact, was annoyed. There's a fake out and you think that Christina dumped Peter and he's really bitter. I would have loved that ending, but instead you see that they got married. I wasn't really invested at all because they never built the relationship up. In When Harry Met Sally, I was totally invested in them getting together. What really won me over was a scene near the middle of the movie where they're discussing dating again. They are encouraging the other one to get out there. They want the other person to be happy and to succeed in love because they care about each other as people. There's nothing coy in the way that they talk to each other, and there are no emotions hidden in plain sight, which is why romance is more fun to watch or read about, because there's mystery, there's tension, there are tumultuous feelings which are very entertaining but not a sustainable way to live your life. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.